What up, YouTube? Welcome back. So, I want to talk about a comment that JT from the City Girls made a few years ago via Twitter that pertained and was reflective of colorism. And those of you who may or may not know, JT, she is part of the City Girls. She is the darker of the two City Girls. I would say Young Miami is kind of like maybe brown skin, while JT is more dark skinned. So JT would be the darker of the two. So that is who JT is and who I'm talking about in this video. So yeah, apparently JT made a comment that I'll read to you, and then we'll discuss more about it. Quote unquote, I love pretty dark-skinned girls. Not too crispy, nah, but the Milky Ways be the ish. So basically she's saying that she doesn't want, she likes the dark-skinned girls, but not them to be too quote unquote well done. So, she likes, the milk chocolate versus the dark chocolate, I guess. She likes the milk chocolate more, I guess. I found that to be a bit odd coming from her, as did a lot of people, because JT herself would be more so considered on the quote unquote well done side of things, the darker side of things. But nevertheless, that is something that JT said. And some people, expressed some criticisms and expressed their thoughts about it. One woman posted, how JT dark skin and calling other dark skinned women crispy. The colorism is real. Shaking my head. And I think that is a part of it too, where it's like, why would you post something like that as a dark skinned woman yourself? Why would you want to add to that narrative that like dark skin on women is bad? And as well, something to bring up and to ask, does she have this same requirement or this same thought when it comes to men? Like, oh, she prefers, the Milky Ways versus the crispy. Like, for instance, if she posted the comment and it read like, oh, I love dark-skinned men. Not too crispy, nah. But the Milky Ways be the ish. Honestly, if she posted that, there probably would be a lot more backlash to this, and a lot more people would be weighing in on this, and it would be a bigger issue. Because, when the colorism hits the dark-skinned dudes, then, it's all of a sudden everyone knows what colorism is. Everyone becomes colorism experts and have PhDs in colorism. And I bring that up because this will come up again later in a situation that JT talks about that she was in. So another person posted, and this is a woman, not JT saying she doesn't like quote unquote crispy dark skinned women, as if Twitter wasn't calling her ugly because she has dark skin. One person posted, I pray that JT can love herself. Self-hatred within colorism hits like a MF. And hopefully JT can find some self-love. If she is dealing with some self-hate and some issues, hopefully she can get that sorted out and be honest with herself about it if she really is going through something like that. One person posts, JT is acting weird as heck. Cool. Making a joke out of her colorism and overall problematic past is just not sitting right. Self-hatred isn't the joke she thinks it is. And another person posts, JT is just as dark as us, so I guess that tweet was born from insecurity due to colorism rather than a superiority complex. And so that's where I guess some folks are coming from with it, feeling like JT is expressing some form of self-hate. And JT did admit some months earlier that her painful upbringing was punctuated by constant pestering about her dark skin, according to the Jiro, or the hero. And she made the following comment, quote unquote, this is JT talking about her colorism experience. I can't believe someone I laid with and thought was my friend before anything said around bees and called me black and crunchy. So some dude that she slept with, I guess, was talking with some other women and referred to her as quote unquote black and crunchy. And then she goes on to say, when he say that to me, I be thinking he joking, but he really feel that way. Wow. So this looks like she experienced some colorism from a guy that she was with, whether dating or they were just some friends with benefits, whatever. I'm not sure if they're the nature of that relationship, but it looks like she took those comments a bit to heart and was a bit offended by that. And she initially thought, oh, it was just a joke. Like when he would say that to her directly, she thought that it was just, oh, it's just some jokes. He just having, making a joke. It's not really anything serious, right? And sometimes a lot of darker skinned black women kind of just brush off the colorism, partially because they don't want to rock the boat, so to speak, and maybe also because they just feel like it's not, it's just a joke. But it's more than that. It's like you can make jokes. Jokes are fine, but it is telling what you make jokes about. Now, if someone was making constant jokes about like someone being like assaulted or sexually violated, why don't you kind of give a bit of a side eye to the jokes like that? But when it comes to colorism, since colorism isn't really considered a big deal in the black community and it's more so something that's swept under the rug and not really dealt with, folks are just a bit more dismissive of it if it's a joke about colorism. Now, if we were making jokes about black men experiencing police brutality, then that would be something that folks would take a lot of issues with. Both black men and black women. We can't joke about that. That's a serious thing, right? Or even just joke about racism that black men experience. Well, those stuff like that can't be considered jokes. That's a real reality. Right? But colorism, we can make jokes about that. But then again, we can't. There's like certain groups, right? The groups that you can make colorism jokes about in the black community would be like darker skinned black women and lighter skinned black men. But you can't make colorism jokes about darker skinned black men and lighter skinned black women. Right? That's how it breaks down. Because, Had JT made a colorism joke about, a colorism joke at darker skinned black men's expense, or joked about police brutality, or even just racism, she would be getting dragged across the internet about this, and she would have to come out and respond and answer and do an apology tour even amongst the black media. But nevertheless, JT did come out and speak about this situation. And her first comment about this situation when it was brought up to her was like, quote unquote, oops, or oop, my bad. There was no S on oops. So, oop, my bad. Then she goes on to elaborate about it. A few minutes later after that comment, she says, quote unquote, I was barely on Twitter last night and a fan sent me the tweet and I removed it. Sorry if I offended anyone. I probably was arguing with someone back then or some dumb ish. I don't hate y'all or myself. I just be talking ish. So that was pretty much her response to the situation. And so far, that has been her response to the situation. And I think probably folks are just going to accept it. Usually, when it comes to these situations, black women just end up accepting anything and everything that's thrown to them. Kevin Hart, he just be doubling down on what he say. And black women be accepting. They're like, oh, yeah, I love me some Kevin Hart. And I'm like, I saw some clips from the stand-up special. I'm like, this stuff ain't even hitting. This stuff ain't even making people really laugh. I guess. I mean, if you want to support a brother, that's fine. But like, there's a lot more brothers that are way more deserving of support than Kevin Hart. I'm just saying. But it's your time, it's your money, it's your effort. So you can do what you want with them. But what do you guys think about JT and what her colorism comment and what she initially said about colorism and her apology? What do you guys think about that? And as well, I believe that Young Miami was also caught up in making some colorism comments as well, way back when, about Haitian people or Haitian women, one of the two. She was caught up in that a while ago too. And considering how both of those women kind of style themselves, that's something to think about too. Because I just recently seen JT with like some like bright blonde hair. And, she has a right to wear what she wants to wear, but I do think that's a bit odd. And where I'm ultimately getting at is I think that JT and perhaps Young Miami both are, still affected by colorism in one way or another. And I believe that the way that they style themselves or they get themselves styled is reflective of that. But I believe that there probably is going to be some colorism that pops up at one point or another again. If one of them or both of them are dealing with colorism or having colorism issues or some say self-hate issues, it's going to come up again at one point or another. It just happens. It's always something colorism related that ends up popping up. Right. One more thing I want to talk about, and this is a bit off topic, but ultimately relates back to this topic. And y'all remember on YouTube a while ago when a certain black male YouTuber who has a history of being very anti-black woman, especially anti-black dark-skinned black woman, was being called, quote unquote, a crispy coon, right? And you remember the person who started that. He was or is a brown-skinned black man who started that. You know? So I bring that up to say that it's not unheard of for people who are brown skin or even dark skin to say anti dark skin comments, whether male or female. Usually it comes from brown skinned people directed at dark skinned folks. Maybe JT views herself as brown skin, quote unquote Milky Way, milk chocolate versus dark chocolate, perhaps. But JT did get her colorism wake up call from that dude, though, right? And she probably thought that she was special. She probably thought that she was the good dark skinned girl. She was the select dark skinned girl. She ain't like the other ones, right? But then come to find out, yes, she was. She wasn't anything special. Right? So that's all I got to say. Let me know what you got to say. Thanks for watching. Adios and goodbye for now.